I'm Sarah from CT1207. And my question is, do you think that teacher-centered education system will actually cause us to lose sight of the true purpose of education, which is to nurture critical thinking skills, process and apply the knowledge we have learned?
Hi Sarah, I have a question for you. What do you mean by a teacher-centric education system?
It means that through pedagogy, which is the way which teachers teach, the teachers tend to rush to finish the syllabus in time for the exams, and learning is often one way. And yeah.
Okay, I would beg to differ. If at all, our education system has become a lot more student-centric, where the student is put at the center of everything that a teacher does. What would you have to say about that?
Indeed, we do agree that there has been changes made to the education system recently, and learning has become more independent and more student-centric, but I think that more improvements can actually be made to the education system. Yeah.
Sorry, but do you have anything specific where you feel that a change should be made? I know I'm putting you on the spot there, but
most probably
maybe Sarah, what you could consider, what Ms. Sandra Davie is asking, do you have any particular educational level that you have in mind, or are you talking about certain subjects which you feel should be more student-centered?
Possibly because of the more exam-oriented system, students could probably have an opportunity to voice their alternative viewpoints in while they are answering their questions.
Well, my view is that our education system is moving towards a more student-centric system. For one, you have many more options than I did or Serene did when we were contemplating going on to university. So a lot of effort is being put into providing you with options that would suit your interests, your abilities, your aptitude for certain areas or subjects or disciplines.
The Yale and US Liberal Arts College is opening its doors, but not without problems. So what, in your opinion, are the challenges that we face in trying to collaborate with foreign institutions?
I think that the challenge of creating a liberal arts college in Singapore is going to unveil itself with time. If you've ever visited a university overseas, how many of you have had the chance to go to the US in your life? Holidays? It's okay, you can raise your hand. 3 people? Okay, 4, 5. Okay, so a few, okay, at the back, great. Okay, so what's the difference in the culture there compared to Singapore? It's in the fabric of the country itself. The First Amendment guarantees freedom of speech in the US. In Singapore, we don't have that culture. We don't have a guarantee that, okay, you can say whatever you want and it doesn't matter who you offend. It doesn't matter. We have a very different culture here. I think in setting up something like the Yale NUS college, you have to decide at which point Americans have their stamp on their college and their education, and at which point the Singapore culture must also be respected. So that is something that everybody is still trying to negotiate. I think SMU probably had an easier time setting up with all these co-partners and brands and universities from overseas because they established their identity first, and then they brought in all these partners. Yale NUS is still trying to write its DNA. It's not established yet. It's starting with a bunch of risk takers, 1 out of every 10 applicants that sent in for an interview and then went through the process, actually got in. That's hugely oversubscribed, if you ask me. 1 out of every 10. That's a very, very low percentage of admission. But do you all still want to go? Would you consider it? Yeah, because of it's hard to get into, it's different, it's new, so you are considering it.
I'm curious, how many of you all have a very clear idea of what is a liberal arts education? How many of you think that it is fine arts or humanities or social sciences? Okay, a few hands went up. It's not. And that's one of the problems. Liberal arts education is a very new thing to Singapore and to Asia. It's very much an American tradition of education that was pioneered in some of the colleges in the US. But the Singapore government sees the value in liberal arts education and has invited Yale University, which is one of the pioneers of liberal arts education, to come here and to set up a college with NUS. And it hopes to actually hope that what will come out of this will be a new brand of liberal arts education that will somehow bring together East and West traditions. So I think that's one of the problems that we have. Asians as a whole, Singaporeans even, tend to take a more utilitarian view of education. We do not think of education for education's sake. We tend to think of university education in terms of the jobs that will get you and the careers that will open up for you. While a liberal arts education in the US is very much about liberating the individual in terms of your thinking. So it's really education for education's sake. So the values that lie at the heart of liberal arts education are very different from some of the values that Singaporeans believe in. And as a result, there's bound to be some clash of values that will happen along the way as we think about what sort of curriculum we want, what sort of teaching and learning that will go on in these colleges. Whether academics should be allowed to talk freely and debate freely, for example, racial issues, religious issues. I think there are a lot of Singaporeans who will feel that we shouldn't because it will raise sensitivities, partly because of our history. But that's not the way some Americans think, especially lecturers who teach in a liberal arts college. They feel that we ought to have debate and discussion, even about the most controversial topics. So those are some of the problems that we will face as the liberal arts college is set up in Singapore.
Right, thank you, Ms. Davie. So obviously the educational landscape is changing in Singapore with the collaboration with such foreign institutions. So piggybacking on this issue, there is a question from Burundi of 1207 who wants to know whether there is a necessity to change the JC education system to meet the new demands of universities.
Hello? Yeah. I think the JC system right now is geared up more for the university system of the UK, which is the system that we inherited. But I think in future, if you are intending to apply for American systems which have been co-opted, there might be more emphasis, I think, on other skills like presentation, public speaking, whether you can articulate, whether your CCAs are strenuous enough. I mean, I think those are also very key considerations for the American system. So I'm not sure that the JC system as it is will remain static. I think it will be a constantly evolving thing, and I think students will have to keep up with that. It'll be a new breed of students anyway.
Actually, I feel that it's a question that you guys have to think about. What sort of person do you want to be when you complete your junior college education? How broad thinking should you be? How much should you know about a particular discipline that you're interested in? What about sports? What about speaking up? What about communication skills? What about writing well? These are the things that you need to think about. And junior college education should change to suit what you think it should be about, and what skills and knowledge it should provide you with to prepare you for university.